Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Session Talk, where we are joined by Branch Politics and, of course, an amazing analyst, a lawyer with a great perspective on things, and that is Lexi Jenkins. Welcome back, Lexi.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you for being here. As always, we just want to give a quick brief of who you are so everybody tuning in knows exactly who's going to be helping us break down some bills. We're going to do 3 bills in 13 minutes, as we've been doing for the past few weeks. Just a little bit about Alexi. She's the head of legislative research at Branch Politics. She has a bachelor's degree in political science with a concentration in American politics from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and is a Juris Doctorate from Harvard Law School. She is a transplant from California and a member of the California Bar. So we do just want to, again, thank her for her time today. And y'all know what this is: 3 bills, 13 minutes. We want to talk about what's going on in the Georgia State Legislature. And we're going to kick things off with the first bill. So we'll go ahead and throw it over to you, Lexi, to kick it off.
So our first bill today is actually 2 bills, which is exciting. It's HB 116 and SB 24. They're matching bills, one in the House and one in the Senate. And what these bills would do is actually raise the minimum wage in Georgia really significantly. So right now, the minimum wage in Georgia is pretty low. It's the lowest in the country, along with Wyoming, at $5.15 an hour. These bills would raise that to $15 an hour. So it's a pretty significant change.
That's a huge change. And I actually remember about 10 years ago when I was working at a grocery store, I used to make like $5.25 an hour. And I didn't even know that that was still a thing here in Georgia, where minimum wage is still $5.15. So that is an important bill. That is super important. If you are tuning in and just joining us, we'd love to know where you're checking in from. Of course, we're breaking down 3 bills in 13 minutes with Lexi. And if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments and we can try and answer them as well. But again, she just went through House Bill 116 and SB 24. So again, House Bill 116, Senate Bill 24. If you're interested in learning more about these bills, we encourage you to look them up, because obviously this is just like a sprinkle, but you can learn so much more if you're able to do a little research, look into some articles and everything like that. So let us know, where are you tuning in from? Where are you joining us on this Friday? And we'll go into the next bill. So SB 29 is the next one, and that requires that absentee voters send 2 copies of a photo ID before being allowed to vote. What is that all about?
So right now, in both chambers of the General Assembly, we're seeing a lot of bills about voting from both sides of the aisle. So a lot of the Republican bills are about tightening up restrictions on voting, and a lot of the Democratic bills are about increasing access to voting. So HB 29 is one of those Republican bills. It has one sponsor in the Senate, and he is a freshman senator. What this bill would do would impose ID requirements for absentee voters, and it would actually be 2 levels of ID requirements. So when you apply to vote absentee, you would have to submit a photocopy of your ID, and then when you send in your ballot, you have to submit another photocopy of your ID as well. If you don't submit both photocopies of your ID, either your absentee ballot application could be rejected or your vote could not be counted.
And that is very scary when you think about families who may or may not have a printer or access to get their photocopies. There must, yeah. So what are opponents saying? What are supporters saying so far?
So like you touched on, opponents of the bill are bringing attention to the fact that not all Georgians have access to a printer. So this requirement could make it much harder for people to vote. Groups like Fair Fight are in opposition. On the supporter side of things, we have some pretty prominent Republicans across Georgia politics. So Governor Kemp hasn't directly come out and said he supports this bill, but he and the lieutenant governor and some of those other top Republican officials have said that they support tougher requirements on voter ID when it comes to voting absentee. And they say this is in order to modernize our elections and increase election security.
Interesting. I mean, this is the world of politics, everyone. You're going to hear different perspectives on this. And while we're talking about this, we want, of course, Branch is a nonpartisan platform that provides this daily newsletter that basically allows you to get a taste of what's going on in the state legislature in a very digestible format. If you are not subscribed to their newsletter, click the link in this caption. It's very easy. All you have to do is put your information in. And every morning, you're going to get information about bills that are getting passed on our behalfs in Georgia. So make sure to subscribe. We do have a comment here. A couple of people tuning in. We just want to say thank you all for joining us. Let us know where you're here from. We have Atlanta, of course, in the building. We got Vegas in the building. We have San Diego. And we have a comment here that says California already approved $15 for minimum wage. I take it from the previous bill we were talking about. So definitely we'll have to look more into that. I know that some states are starting to get that approval, and we hope to see more, because people deserve a fair living, a fair wage living. So at this point, we're going to move on into the next bill here, and that is House Bill 112, which protects businesses and healthcare providers from lawsuits related to COVID-19 for another year. So, I mean, it sounds pretty straightforward, but why don't you break this down for us as well, because this is important.
Yeah, so this is a reauthorization of a bill that actually passed last year. It provided basically immunity from lawsuits for certain businesses and hospitals for COVID-19 exposure. So in Georgia specifically, businesses are immune from customers suing them if they contract COVID there, if they place pretty large legible signs on the premises detailing the risks of COVID. So that passed last year, went into effect last June, and is set to expire this June. So this would reauthorize it for another year. So it would be in effect from July 2021 until July 2022.
Okay. I mean, if we have any business owners out there, let us know how you feel about that. I'm sure it helps a lot of businesses and everything like that. Are there I guess in the summaries that you all provide as well, which are really great, you just have an outline. Are other states doing something similar? What are other states doing about COVID protections? And then anything to add about what supporters and opponents are saying?
Yeah, as I imagine people have a sense of, the response state by state to COVID has varied a lot. It's been very, very different state by state. So certain states have passed bills like this that protect all businesses, like Alabama and Iowa. And then some other states like California and Kentucky have made the immunity a little more tailored to businesses that they deem to be essential. And then some states have just passed like nothing at all. So it really, really varies based on where you're living.
Yeah, as does many things in this country. And just to show you some of the comments that are coming in, we really appreciate everybody who's tuning in from all the different states and cities around Georgia. I see we do have Baltimore in the house. Hello, Baltimore. We have Chicago in the building. Welcome, Chicago. Of course, we have San Diego and Vegas again, and Georgia. And someone did ask a question, how about Georgia when it comes to, I believe, the minimum wage? And that was a bill that we we touched on earlier in the live. But if you could revisit that just to let them know as well, what's the deal with Georgia and the bill that you had shared earlier?
Yeah, just to go back to the minimum wage in Georgia, it's actually $5.15 an hour now, which is the lowest in the country. There is a federal minimum wage at $7.25, but that only applies to businesses making $500,000 or more. So if you work somewhere with a lower income, some of the smaller businesses, those federal minimum wage laws don't apply. And that's where you're going to see workers making $5.15 an hour. Some workers actually make less than that. In Georgia, tipped workers can make their income like entirely off of tips with no minimum wage. So this bill would actually get rid of that system as well. So tipped workers like waitresses, like bartenders would need to start making the minimum wage.
It is important. This is people's livelihoods, we're talking about, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. So we'll definitely follow. And that was very informative, because I didn't even realize there was like the cap where if you make this much, then you have to pay this much. But that makes sense, right? The bigger the business you are, the more you're going to be required to pay more. And so we have some comments coming in. Thanks, Alexi, for the info. Yes, we thank you for all this info, all this greatness. And then we have another person asking about California. This, again, is a conversation mostly about Georgia legislature, but I'm sure, if you look it up on if you just type in, there is a debate. So it does say that, California is working to rise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, but it won't be for, I guess, another couple of years, it appears to be. So probably not until 2023. That is according to Forbes. So you can definitely check that out. Again, just a Forbes article that came out on February 3rd. This was a couple of days ago. They said that California's minimum wage will rise to $15 per hour for all employees starting in 2023, but currently businesses with more than 25 employees are required to pay no less than $14 per hour. So that's a $4 hourly pay increase, according to Forbes. So definitely encourage you to look more into that. These bills that we're touching on, remember everybody, we're just a little sprinkle. So we definitely encourage everyone to follow up. Make sure you're checking out credible sources like Forbes magazine, especially if you're in Georgia. Make sure you're looking at credible sources, the news stations, the different publications out there and everything like that. So we just want to throw it back to Alexi. We have a couple more minutes here. We've been hearing about all these bills, and I know you're going to keep us updated on where they stand. But there's just, again, if you could just talk about the importance of keeping a close eye on these bills. If we just ignore them, we're not going to really know what's going on. But why is it so important to sort of follow along with all this?
Yeah, so I think that over the past couple of years, people have really come to see how crucial voting is in terms of having a really vibrant, healthy democracy. And I think the next step is really for people to start paying attention to what's happening on that local level. Because if you're not paying attention, a lot of things can fly under the radar and can start happening without you having a say in it. So if you're keeping track of the bills that are happening on the state level and local government, then you're just going to have so much more say in what's actually happening in your community. You can always reach out and call your representatives about any of these bills. If you subscribe to our newsletter, there's also a link at the bottom of each bill, so you can go and read the text of the bill yourself and get super informed. All this information is out there to access, so we at Branch are really just trying to make it as easily digestible and accessible to people as possible.
And you all are doing a fabulous job with that. Please, everyone, if you are not subscribed, subscribe to this newsletter. We are down to the last few seconds here. I do just want to acknowledge we have Morocco in the house. Hello, Morocco. It's always good to see our international community joining us as well as we learn more about everything happening. So thank you. If you are not subscribed, make sure to click on that link in the caption. And also make sure to email your state reps, whether you support the bill or whether you're against the bills, let them know how you feel. This is a part of civic engagement, right? We vote people in that we want, or we vote people out that we don't want. And you can also stay connected. You can tell them how you feel. You are a citizen, you are a resident of Georgia or whatever state you're in, email them, let them know how you feel. As always, we appreciate y'all joining us, and we will see y'all next week at noon for another session talk with, of course, Alexi, Jenkins, and Branch. Take care, everyone.